Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are back again after 6 months, and this time I am back as a psychologist, a psychology student mentor, and also as a researcher. Yes, I have progressed from being a psychology student in my life and I can officially call myself a psychologist now. So today's video is going to be extremely crucial, especially if you're someone who's in their undergraduation in psychology or even in any other field, because today we're going to be talking about how to select a master's college for yourself, and towards the end I'll also be talking a little bit about my experience at NFSU. I think before I begin with the pointers, I'd just like to give you a little bit of backstory and what was exactly going on when I was seeking admission in a master's course. So I had really good grades in my bachelor's in applied psychology honors. I finished it from Delhi University, Shama Prasad Mukherjee College, and I had a great CGPA. I think I had 8.64 CGPA, and at that point of time Delhi University also gave out a few admissions based on merit. So I had cleared the merit list of Delhi University North Campus, I had cleared the entrance of Christ University Bangalore, and I had cleared the entrance of NFSU Gandhinagar. So I had these three options and I decided to go with NFSU. Why is that is something that you will figure out towards the end of the video, and I think this is also a video wherein you can also sit with me and think about your choices, and it'll help you figure out how to select the best college for yourself. So coming to the number one question that you should ask yourself when you're trying to find a college for your master's is, what are you seeking out of this degree? Or what is your longer term goal from this degree? I knew I wanted to get into a college after which I could crack my MPhil entrances and crack UGC NET, because that is something that I was looking at and I was aiming for. Based on this goal, I decided what are going to be the other criterias with which I wanted to select my master's college. So the first criteria was, how much time am I getting to study by myself? So as a learner, I am not someone who really studies in the classroom. I'm someone who has a lot of fun in the classroom and I go back home and then study. So I really didn't want a college environment wherein I am forced to study, because that is an environment where I cannot thrive. So college environments wherein classes start at 8:30 in the morning and then end at 5 p.m. is a place where I cannot thrive, because it is a lot of pressure and a lot of stress for me. An environment that lets me study and learn at my own pace is also an environment that helps me thrive. So I think one question that all of you can ask yourself is, what kind of a student are you? Are you someone who thrives in an atmosphere that puts a lot of pressure on you and makes you do work? Because not really looking down on anyone, because I know that there are students who need that constant push and who need to be told what they want to do. But then there are also students who sort of crumble under that pressure, and I was one of those students. I wanted to do things at my own pace, whether it is 2 days before the exam or 2 months before the exam. I wanted to have that autonomy to myself, which is why I decided not to go ahead with a place like Christ, because I think all of us know that Christ has a very structured environment, and although Christ is amazing, Christ is really great for people who want that constant push, I realized that the pedagogy that it follows is something that will not help me thrive in that place. Point number 2 is course alignment. Does this course really align with what I want to do? So for this, I managed to get like syllabus out of all of these colleges. I got the syllabus of Christ, I got the syllabus of NFSU, and I had the syllabus of DU. I also had a lot of seniors who finished their masters from DU, so I asked them and I talked to them about how the place is, and they told me very clearly that DU is a place that doesn't really give you a specialization in clinical. And I think the batch that was like just with me was the first batch that sort of got clinical after a very long time, and for that also they had to protest and everything. And I was someone who wanted clinical. I didn't really, want to leave it to fate or even have that 1% chance that I might not get clinical, which is why I was a little bit dicey about DU. Also considering that DU North Campus is very far from my home and they have very regular classes. So I wanted something that has a little less workload as compared to Delhi University. I looked at the course structure. I really liked the MSc Clinical Psychology course structure of NFSU and Christ. Both of them are very clinical specific, They have really good core courses, and they also have a good amount of psychodiagnostics in their course. Basically, you are taught a lot of cognitive tests, IQ tests, neuropsychological tests, even projective tests for that matter. And this is a kind of thing that you're usually taught in MPhil. So I thought that if I have this exposure in my masters, maybe I'll be well prepared for my MPhil. So this is one thing that inclined me a little bit more towards Christ and NFSU as compared to Delhi University. But if you are a person who is looking at specializations like OB or cognitive or developmental for that matter, then I think Delhi University North Campus or even Christ University and their program in IO Psychology is really good and is better when we compare it to NFSU, because NFSU is MSc Clinical and these things might not really fall well under the curriculum. Another thing that really stood out to me in the curriculum of NFSU was the fact that their 4th semester is entirely practical. So there are no theory papers, you really have no exams at all. You only have 3 things. So one is your dissertation, one is your community service, which is your NGO work, and the last thing is your clinical internship. So you only have to intern at a hospital for 2 months, you have to do 10 hours of NGO work and finish your dissertation, and you just have vivas for these 3 things and no written papers at all. This was a huge edge for me because, as I said, that I was preparing for MPhil and NET. MPhil exams usually happen after you have finished your masters, and so I knew that NIMHANS and its exam happens around this time only, and I was really glad that NFSU has such a curriculum, because that would help me focus more on my exams, on my external exams, and getting somewhere else in life rather than finishing and stressing over my masters in the final few months of my masters itself. Another thing that you can consider, and another thing that I considered, was dissertation. So is each and every student in the batch given dissertation or are they not? So Delhi University, I think, only gives dissertation to the top 10% students. However, they have changed this rule and now each and every person gets dissertation even in North Campus. But they gave dissertation to everyone in South Campus, but they did not give dissertation to everyone in North Campus back when I was taking admission. So which is why again I was a little dicey about Delhi University and wanted to look at other options. I also talked to the alumni and spoke to them about how the course structure is and how is the timetable that is being followed at that place. I know that this is something that not a lot of us look at, but it was very important for me because I wanted to come home and study. So they told me that NFSU's timetable is really cool because we started classes at 10 a.m. and our classes were over by 1 p.m. in the first and second semester, and in the third semester we had classes starting at 2 p.m. and they were over by 5 p.m. So I literally had the entire day to myself to study and do whatever I want, and in those 3-4 hours I used to come to the class, study a few times and chill the other times. So that seemed like the ideal atmosphere where I wanted to be, as opposed to Delhi University North Campus, which was a little bit more intensive, and also the fact that it was very far from my home, so the travel time would be a lot. And Christ University, again, as we know, is very intensive, and that is some place where I couldn't see myself thrive as a student. Based on all of these things, I felt that NFSU would be the right option for me, and I just went ahead with NFSU and took my admission. I still remember the day when I was going to Gujarat. I was feeling very sad and I was almost crying in the train. I didn't know how my life would be, but I think 2 years later, now that I'm sitting here talking about this, I can assure you that I wouldn't want it any other way. Even if I could go back in time right now and change a few things, I still don't think that I would have chosen any other college. I still think that I would have come to NFSU. Considering what happened with my MPhil, still I would have come to NFSU because there were a lot of other things also that I liked at this place, which I will be talking about in the experience part of the video. I think a very important question that I would like to answer here is, does brand value matter? Because this is a question that a lot of us have constantly, and this is a stuck point for a lot of us because, you know, we might get admission at a good university, but then, you know, we wonder that, okay, maybe the rank of this college is not that nice as compared to some other college. So we keep wondering about the brand value. Having finished my masters and also having sat for different interviews in various fields of psychology, here's what I think about brand value. So if you're someone who is keen on going into clinical or counseling side of things and practicing as a psychologist, then brand value doesn't really matter. It is your skills that will matter in the long run, because they will determine whether a client comes in, whether they will stay, or whether they will refer you out to someone else or not. When it comes to things like teaching or research position, or any sort of administrative position, or if you're someone who's looking for a government job, brand value can definitely make a difference for you. So if you're someone who's keen on working in the government side of things, then I would say that you should be a little bit more careful about the brand value and about your scores. But if you're someone who wants to practice, then brand value doesn't really matter. It is your skills that matter. So in a nutshell, if you're someone who's deciding which college to go for in your masters, there are a few questions that you can ask yourself. The first of them would be, what course do I want to go for? Second of them would be that what is the teaching quality of this place? You can talk to an alumni if that is relevant or important to you. You can ask them about the teaching style and what is the sort of time that you're going to get for yourself if you enroll in this degree. And based on these questions, you can select the master's college that is best for you, because trust me, all of these rankings that this is the number 1 college, this is number 2 college are really not very accurate, because having been through that phase, I can assure you that every single individual and what their best master's college is would look very, very different. So just look at a few of these things and at the end ask yourself this one simple question: based on all of these facts, is this a place where I can thrive? Now coming to the second part of the video, which is my experience at NFSU. I would say that it was a little bit of a mixed experience like it is at any other place, and here I'm going to tell you about the different pros and cons that I felt were a part of my experience. Talking about the pros first, I had a lot of time to myself, which is why I could study for my MPhil exams, my NET exams, and I also cleared both of these exams. So I think it's pretty evident that the sort of diagnostics that I did in different colleges and selected a college based on asking myself that is this a place where I can thrive really worked for me, because I did end up achieving the things that I wanted to. Again, something that I've spoken about before, the syllabus is really nicely made. It's very in-depth. There's a lot of theories that they're covering, and the syllabus aligns a lot with the MPhil entrance syllabus of NIMHANS. So there were also opportunities for practical learning and emphasis on practical learning. We also had role plays and we had papers in psychodiagnostics. So we learned how to do IQ testing, we learned a little bit of Rorschach, we did a little bit of TAT. So these were a few things that we learned in our masters. These are things that usually people learn in their MPhil. So it did prepare us a little bit for the next step. Even apart from this, the final semester only has dissertation, clinical internship and NGO work, which means that one entire semester is completely focused on your practical learning. Another thing about NFSU was that it had a really great environment. I could wear whatever I want without thinking much about it, because this is the kind of environment that I had grown up with, especially when I went to DU, and I didn't really want to give up on that part of myself. The thing that I loved about NFSU and also talking about Gujarat is that it is a very safe place, especially Gandhinagar is a very safe place. I remember when I was in Delhi, before going to Gandhinagar, my curfew time was 8 p.m. But then when I went to Gandhinagar, I was put into a hostel. My hostel's curfew time was 10 p.m. That was a great shift from what I had experienced at my home and experienced in Delhi, and I got a new sort of experience, a new sort of freedom that I found in this new city, and it was something that was very liberating to me, especially as a girl who stays in Delhi. It was something that I really loved and cherished. A person who likes a little bit of calm and peace and being in their own space, then Gandhinagar would be a place that you really like. It doesn't really have a lot of fun options, but because of that you actually get to bond a lot with people that are coming in over there. Gandhinagar as a city, especially compared to Delhi, is much more quieter and peaceful, and I actually like that quiet and peace. But if you're someone who's very used to the hyped up energy of Delhi, then Gandhinagar can feel a little bit of a bummer to you. Let's come to the cons quickly. I think the first and the biggest con of NFSU is going to be the administration. Another con, or I can say it's like a sort of a mixed review. The teachers can be a mixed bag, and I think this is true for each and every place. But if I look at it from a different lens, or like compare different universities, then the teaching quality can feel a little underwhelming sometimes. There are definitely a few teachers who are, for example, teachers from NIMHANS, etc., who are really great at what they're doing and know what they're teaching, but there are also a few teachers whose teaching can feel a little underwhelming. But I think this is something that is true for each and every place. Another major con is that NFSU is expensive. I found NFSU expensive when I was there, and the year that I left NFSU was when they also hiked the fee. so it has gotten even more expensive. So NFSU can be a place that might not fit into the budget of a lot of people. Also considering that adding to that expense would also be the cost of living, your hostel fee or your flat fee, whatever you're going to eat over there, and just sustaining a lifestyle. Overall, it can be a little expensive. Another thing, now this can be a pro or a con depending on the kind of student that you are, but there's not going to be anyone who's going to push you to do anything. The teachers are not really going to push you to do anything or to grab opportunities. You are pretty much on your own, and this is something that you have to do on your own. Find opportunities, apply for them, and enhance your skills. As I said, I'm a kind of person who is very proactive on their own and likes to do things on their own and not be forced into doing maybe internships or any other thing. Which is why this thing worked well for me, because I was able to proactively decide what I wanted to do and choose that for myself. There were also a few people who did not really went well with this system because they weren't comfortable in doing things without that sort of guidance. So this really depends on you as a student. This can be a pro or a con for different people. And yeah, this is it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that this helps you make your college selection procedure a little bit more easier than it would have been earlier. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe, like all of the new things that have popped up in the while that I wasn't here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.